Okay, namaste everyone. I will take a moment first to express my reverence and gratitude to Guruji, Pandit Sanjay Rath, and Gurvi Sarbani Rath for opening the doors of the parampara to the world, and also express my heartfelt gratitude to the teachers of the parampara who I've been studying with in this past 6 years. We will say the Guru Mantra. Om Gurave Namah. Om Paramagurave Namah. Om Paratpar Gurave Namah. Om Parameshti Gurave Namah. So our topic today is the cosmic role of Shukra. And we will start with a shloka, which is from the very early chapters of Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. Avataranye anekani hya ajasya paramatmana jivanam karma falado graharupi Janardana. So Janardana, who is the unborn Paramatma himself, Lord Vishnu, he is working through the planetary deities to deliver karmic justice to all of us for all this accumulated karma that we have over lifetimes. So you see, this horoscope is like a bhupura of a yantra. And these 4 doors that we have, one second. The 4 doors that we have in the yantra, these are the 4 kendras. And everything that we are experiencing in Bhuloka has to come to us through one of these kendras. So the Kendra Bhava Karakas, who are the hand of God for the Kendra Bhavas, they are really that much important in our lives. So you see here, the first and the fourth Kendras, they are the Bhava Karakas, are the luminaries. They are the father and the mother. And they have to approve every yoga that we have in our chart. So 7th and 10th Kendras, their Karakas are the Rajas planets. Rajas is the energy of activity. And the Rajas planets basically give us the motivation to live, the desires to create, to do something with our lives, to enjoy samsara. It's mainly the Rajas planets ties us down with samsara, to samsara. Otherwise, we would take sannyasa. So the 7th house is our topic today because we're talking about Shukra. And Shukra, who is the Bhavakaraka of the 7th house. This is the Kama Kendra. So all our desires, business, trade, meeting people who are in the external circle, like, marriage, all kinds of sukha also, because this is a 4th from the 4th, are in this Kendra, in this 7th house Kendra. And the first we will elaborate on, the experience of time, because we experience time in the Muladhara, which is in the 7th house. And you see, time is in the 10th house, but the 10th from the 10th, 7th is where we really experience this. If you know Mahakaleshwar Jyotirlinga, which is talking about, Kala, Mahakala, is in Tula Rashi. And this 7th house is the Adhana Lagna, or the conception Lagna. So the soul is captured here, and we are conceived. So basically, this is the west of the yantra, and on the west we have the Dikpala Devata Varuna, and Varuna Dev has a pasha, and with the pasha he is capturing the souls. So the soul, is conceived here, and once it is conceived, we are getting encapsulated in this Bhuloka time. And then when, we have lived our lives, actually after that 9 solar months, we are born in the Lagna. Okay, so this then becomes our horoscope. And then after we have lived our lives, it's time for sunset, time for death. Again, this 7th house is the Hara Bhava, which is releasing us from this time encapsulation. So you see, when we are doing muhurta charts for travel, we always have to ensure that Shukra is well placed, because Shukra is the karaka of travel. So this journey to and from Bhuloka is also travel. And what about the grahas that are doing parikrama of Surya Dev? You know, the gochara. Gochara defines the kala for us. So that is also travel. So that's why we are going to explore what is the role of Shukra in this travel, in this gochara of the planets, and in life itself. So, as it is mentioned in some of the Puranas, that all the planets, you know, they are in their individual chariots doing the revolutions around Surya Dev. And Shukra specifically, because it's our topic, is in a chariot pulled by 8 horses. So, in one of the PJC lessons, Guruji had mentioned this, that the Sa-ayana chakra is Vishnu and the Nir-ayana chakra is Narayana. So we are going to explore that, because we are talking about Gochara of planets. We need to understand these 2 chakras. So we are going to look at these Vishnu Purana shlokas in order to understand them. So here it says that Etat Kala Chakram hi Bhagavan Vishnur Avyayam Sa Esha Sarva Bhutatma Kala Rupi Vyavasthita. So here he is talking about Kala Chakra, which is the wheel of time. You know, the movement of Surya Dev is causing the years, the seasons, the months, the days. You know, that is the Sayana Chakra, the tropical zodiac. And this form is Vishnu, who is Sarva Bhutatma Kala Rupi. You know, Maharshi Parashara has taught us that Sarvatma Chadivakara is Surya Dev. So here, Kala Rupi Surya Dev is the form of Vishnu. And this shloka is saying, Dhruvena Adhishtitash Chaiva Surya Brahmati Mandale Narayanatmaka. So when we are talking about, you know, when we are considering the movement of Surya along the Nakshatra Mandala, which is anchored to a fixed star, you know, Dhruva. In this current time period, our fixed star is Polaris, Dhruva. So this form is Narayanatmaka. And you see the picture of Surya Dev here is, you know, who travels in this one-wheel chariot and driven by the 7 horses. But we're talking about Shukra. I want to draw your attention to the charioteer of Surya Dev. His name is Arunadev. And as mentioned in the Puranas, Arunadev is the elder brother of Garuda, who is Vishnu Vahana. And Puranas mention that Arunadev has a huge torso, but no legs, because he was born premature. So premature birth is given by Shukra in horoscope. Certain positions of Shukra will give premature birth. So note that. And also, you know, in Mahabharata, it's mentioned that Brahmadeva appointed Arunadeva to filter the intense Agni of Surya Dev, because he's sitting right in front of him. And unlike this picture, he actually faces Surya Dev to show respect to him. So you see, this filtering of Agni is also a Shukra function, because Shukra is the firefighter of the horoscope. And in the Puranas, it is mentioned that Varuna Deva, so this is Varuna Deva and this is Pushan Deva. And these pictures are made with, you know, based on the descriptions as in Rig Veda. So in the Puranas, it is mentioned that Varuna Deva was doing a yagya in, you know, and in the yogic fire, Brahma's Retas fell. And from the different parts of that yagya, the Saptarishis were born. So when Bhrigu Rishi came about, Varuna Deva adopted him. And Shukracharya is in the lineage of Bhrigu. He is Bhrigu Sutta. Angiras came about and Angiras was adopted by Agni Dev. So you see Jupiter's connection with Agni Dev and Shukra's connection with Varuna Dev. So Varuna Dev is the controller of water and Shukra is the controller of Jala in our horoscope. So we have established a connection between Shukra and Varuna Dev. And here we are talking about travel. We are talking about movements. So for movement, we need Jala, because Jala flows. And, you know, all animals are Chara, because we are made of 70-75% Jala. And all plants are Sthira, because they are made of Prithvi. Prithvi doesn't move. So Varuna Deva is the Dikpala of the seventh house. Where, see, this is why we are even talking about Varuna Deva and Pushan Deva, because there is a connection between Shukras, Kshetras, and these Devatas. So Varuna Deva is the Dikpala Devata of the West, which is the seventh house, where Shukra is Karaka, Lord, it is Shukra's Mula Trikona, workplace. And Varuna Dev is the Aditya of the fourth house, where Shukra is Digbala. Okay, and Varuna Dev, you see, has this pasha. So Jala is our biggest bandhana. Jala creates emotions, attachments, and Shukra also rules the Panchanga element of Tithi, which is our relationships. Relationships also is our, biggest kama bandhana. So Varuna Dev plays a very important role in this yearly movement of Surya Dev, in his chariot creating the kala, the seasons for us. So Rigveda says that Varuna Dev carves out the tracks and paves the path for Surya Dev to to travel in the Antariksha. So you see, here it is saying, it's part of one of the Rigvedic shlokas that says, Apade pada pratidhatave, meaning that in space you cannot really walk, you cannot put your foot down, you don't get a grip. But Varuna Dev creates this path for Surya Dev, so his chariot can get a grip, it can move, there is a path for him. And another shloka says that he's like a hidden, unmanifested ocean. So you can imagine this path like this hidden, unmanifested ocean in the sky that Varuna Dev is creating for Surya Dev to move. And it is said that he knows the path of every object that is, traveling in this antariksha and in the samudras. So if you think about it, Sri Ram, when he's a Surya avatar, and when he, went to the south to do his life's karma, to kill the Papa Purusha, Varuna Dev had to make the way for him, in the water. So this is Pushan Dev, and Pushan Dev is the Aditya of the seventh house, where Shukra is Lord Karaka Mula Trikona. Also, Shukra exalts in Revati Nakshatra, which is the lunar mansion of Pushan Dev. So you see, Shukra is also connected to the Kshetra, which is where the Devata is Pushan Dev. Now, why is that? So this Rig Veda shloka, it's saying, Vayam utva pathaspate ratham na vajasatiye dhiye Pushan ayujmahi. So this is saying that Pushan is the lord of paths. Okay, and as the name suggests, Pushan is from Pusha, Pushti. And in our horoscope, Shukra is giving the nourishments. So as it's mentioned in Shiva Purana, that when Lord Shiva was creating the Varas, each individual Vara, Friday, Shukra Vara was created for the purpose of Pushtyarthe Jaiva Raksharthe, preservation, protection. Okay, so you can imagine that, Varuna Dev is creating the path, and Pushan Dev is, the lord of the path. He's making sure that, everyone is in their path. And ancients used to do, pray to him to bring back their lost cattle. So this is from Surya Siddhanta, this shloka, this one. This is saying that all the revolutions of the planets is accounted complete at the end of the Revati Nakshatra. Okay, this word here is Paushnyante. Okay, end of Pushan. So you see, there is no doubt that this is talking about Revati Nakshatra, because even the shloka number is 27, and Revati is the 27th Nakshatra. So you see the weapon of Pushan here, it is a goad. And shepherds use goad to probe and prod their cattle, so that they don't just move astray. So like that, Pushan Dev is making sure that the planets are not going out of their orbital paths. And Surya Siddhanta also mentions that in Kali Yuga start, it is, all the planets were in Pushan. They had completed one revolution, they were in Pushan. So you see, the Yuga start is also marked by Pushan. So there is a role that they are playing in the time scale and, in the paths. The most plausible Kali Yuga chart is the one that Guruji has shared with us, and you will see that most of the planets are in Revati. Some are in Ashwini, so they are in that vicinity. So here we are trying to explore the roots of this timing principle, where Surya gets a ayana. This is a ayana chalana chakra, and I've made this image based on the East Indian chart. East Indian chart. This is north. Cancer is here, and this is South Capricorn. Okay, so so in this timing principle, Shukra rules a paksha. Okay, so we're trying to understand why is Shukra ruling a paksha. This is an exploration. Okay, so this is the Ayana Chalana Chakra, and basically the Bha Chakra is the zodiacal belt, which is about 9 or 10 degrees wide. It is a it's an atmosphere that envelopes the Earth as part of the celestial sphere. And here there are 27, the 27 nakshatras and rashis are here. So you see, in the universe, there is so many constellations, but what matters to us is, what is in the Bhachakra, in this belt, is what influences our lives. So you see, sun is traveling on a path, the sun's apparent path. This is called an ecliptic. And when the ecliptic, it intersects with the celestial equator. So we have the equator here. And if we pull the equator out to the celestial sphere, that is the celestial equator. So when sun's path is intersecting with the celestial equator, that's when we have the the equinoxes, the vernal and the autumnal equinoxes. So that's when the day and night is the same length. And summer solstice is here when the sun is, in Cancer, entering Cancer. And that is when the daytime is the longest. And winter solstice and when sun is entering Capricorn, and that is when the nighttime is the longest. So this is basically the longitudinal movement of Surya Dev that is tracking the seasons in the tropical zodiac. Now, at the same time, there is also a latitudinal movement happening, which is called declination. And declination is a very, very important concept in Jyotish. Okay, so if you draw a straight line from the sun to the earth, wherever it falls is called a subsolar point. And every year, like a clockwork, this subsolar point is moving, up and down like that between 23.4 degrees north, which is the celestial tropic of Cancer, and 23.4 degrees south, which is the celestial tropic of Capricorn. So when Surya Dev is here, starting, the winter solstice starts, it's actually the subsolar point is here in the tropic of Capricorn, celestial tropic of Capricorn. Okay, and then it is moving upwards, and this upward movement is called the Uttarayana. Okay, and once it is in the north here in Cancer, then the downward journey starts, and this is the Dakshinayana. So Vishnu Purana says that the golden mountain Meru, which goes straight through the middle of the Earth's globe, which is called the Bhugola Madhyaya, and it merges out of the two sides, the two poles. The north pole of Mount Sumeru is where Devaloka is, and the south pole is where Asura Loka is. So you see, 1 Earth year is actually a day for the gods and the Asuras. So the 6 months of Uttarayana is actually daytime in the northern mountain Sumeru, okay, and nighttime for the Asuras in the southern mountain Sumeru. So this Ayana is the 6-month period of how basically the Devas and Asuras are experiencing daytime and nighttime. And in Cancer, so here, if we take the Nirayana chakra, then in this period around here is when we have the Deva Shayani Ekadashi and the Garuda Sayani Dwadashi, when the Devas are going to sleep. And here in Capricorn, we have Sri Jagannath waking up. Okay, so you see how why Surya is being assigned 6 months. It's based on the duration of daytime and Devaloka, basically. So now Shani, Shani is given a sama, which is a year, So Surya Dev has 2 wives, Sandhya and Chaya, and Shani is the son of Chaya. Shani rules shadows. So the shadow travels with Surya Dev all year round. Okay, the shadow is not going away. So astronomers measure shadow with the help of this thing called a gnomon, which is part of a sundial. And on the equator during the equinox, when the sun is completely in midheaven, 90 degrees up, the shadow is the smallest. It's a small dot on the equator. If you go up on the latitude, shadow is going to increase in length. Okay, but the shadow is there. The shadow is not going away. So in Earth, we are experiencing the shadows. In Surya Siddhanta, it is mentioned that there are realms of the Siddhas and Vidyadharas, which who are kind of above the Mount Sumeru. It seemed to me, if I understood correctly, they are below the moon, they are above the clouds. And that's why they don't get the shadow. So shadow is this very bhuloka experience. So we are now going to understand why is Shukra getting a paksha. So for this, there are a few concepts. Okay, so Guruji has taught us that the devas are born in Mesha, Manusha is born in Karka, Pitaras are born in Makara, and the Sarpas and Nagas are born in Tula. So laying over another concept on top of this, grahas are born in the ninth from their Swashetra. So the most popular story for this is Chandra. Chandra Swashetra is in Karka, and the ninth from it is Meena. Meena is where Samudra Manthan happened. So like so same thing, Surya Swashetra is here in Simha, and the ninth from it is where the Devas are born. Okay, so that's why Surya is getting this ayana, because that is how the Devas are experiencing the daytime. Okay, Mangal Swashetra is a Vrishchika, and ninth from it is where Manusha is born. So Mangal gets a Vasara. Avasara is a weekday, because that's how Manusha experience daytime. See, for us, depending on where we are in the latitude, a day can be, 6 hours or 24 hours. So the Vasara is given to Mangal. And you see Shukra Swashetra is in Vrisharashi. And ninth from there is where the Pitaras are born. That's why Shukra is getting the 15 days. Because in Pitriloka, so 1 earth month is a day in Pitriloka. And Krishna Paksha is the daytime of Pitriloka. Because you see, that's when we do the Pitri Tarpan. The Krishna Paksha is when the Pitris are awake, they're receiving our offerings. So you see the connection of Shukra and Paksha. So Magha Nakshatra, which is in Simha Rashi, is the lunar mansion of the Pitris. Okay, and one of the names of Shukra is Magha Bhava, Magha Bhu, offspring, offspring of Magha. So when Kali Yuga started, the Saptarishis were in Magha. The Rishis are our Pitris, they are our ancestors, fathers, they give us Gotra. And you see, ninth from Rahu Swashetra is where the Sarpas are born. Now, this region is absolutely dark. There is no light here, except the light that comes from the Nagamani. So here is an example of how to use this timing principle. Okay, so I didn't cover the other grahas because they are kind of out of scope of this session, but they're very, very interesting. So this yearly movement of Surya Dev is used in Prashna because Prashna is also valid for a year. And Prashna, we can use other Naisargik dashas and other compressed dashas for Prashna, but this is also a very popular one that is used. There are a couple of adjustments. Here, Mangal, instead of becoming a weekday, it is becoming a week. And Chandra, instead of a Shana, it's becoming a day. Now, Shana is 45 minutes, which is same as the Muhurta, par Prashna Marga. Prashna Marga says that. And so you see, because otherwise these units are very small for, to do a prediction. So it is adjusted. So this is an example of a lost Prashna that Guruji has taught in Kashi. And, all this information that I'm going to be using here is shared. It's out there on the public website. So this Prashna I did for the cook of my parents' house. Her husband has dementia. And recently he went missing. So you see the seventh lord here is Moon, who is in a Sandhi, and in this Amavasya yoga with Surya. Okay, so you can kind of tell that, yeah, the Prashna is, about the husband who is in a dangerous situation. And the Lagna also has two malefic drishtis. One is from the 8th house, Ketu. So this 8th house Ketu Drishti and the Lord of Ketu Surya is also having Drishti. But you see the 8th house Drishti from Ketu is basically telling us that it's not, a theft. It's not a kidnap. It's basically a mistake. It's somebody, maybe left the door open or something and he just left without knowing that he's leaving the house. So Now, you see, the important thing here is that this moon is having an exchange with Venus. So you can say that the situation is changing. And because of all these benefits in the seventh house, you can say that, yes, it is changing for the better. Now, in Lost Prashna, in the third house and sixth house, you can see for, how, who is helping to find the missing article. So maybe the police can be helping, something like that. So in this case, you see Mercury is very strong in the sixth house in own sign. So what was happening is the neighbors, the relatives were helping. And finally, they found him and brought him back. It's the neighbors. And so here we're going to try to see, if we can figure out when he will be found. So we are determining what is the graha that will give this timing. And we said how the seventh house is connected with time, with the experience of time, right? So seventh house sometimes can give the clue to the timing in Prashna. And so there are two planets here. How do we choose between Jupiter and Venus? One, Venus is in an exchange. Even though Jupiter is exalted, Venus being in an exchange is becoming, very important. Also, you see, Guruji taught that the Navamsha Lagna is going to tell you about the lost article. And here the Navamsha Lagna Lord, is in yoga with Shukra. So you can say that Shukra is going to give the timing. So once you have determined that Shukra is going to give the timing, you can apply this formula, okay? You can apply this formula where you count the Navamsha position of Shukra to the Rashi position of Shukra. So that is giving you 2. And then you have to do a -1 because it's a very common method that is used in Dasha, Rashi Dasha calculations, where you have to do a -1. So similarly, you do a -1, so you're left with 1, okay? And then you get the timing from here. It's Paksha. So you can say that, yes, the person will be found in 15 days. And that's exactly what happened. So now we'll talk about Rath Yatra. So this shloka from Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is saying that, he's talking about the 2 paths of exit from Bhuloka, okay, after death. And he's saying the Uttarayanam, the Shanmasa Uttarayanam, or Deva Ayana, is the path of the Bhakti yogis, the ones who are devoted to him, ones who are doing devotional services to him. And this is the path out of the cycle of rebirth. And Dakshinayana, Pitrayana, Chandrayana, that is a path of rebirth. That's what he's saying in this chapter. Okay. Now, in some other Puranas, I found that it is specifically mentioned that Dakshinayana is the path of the Agnihotris. Sages who are householders, they're performing a lot of Vedic rituals, they're doing good deeds, they're enjoying, the fruits of their karma in Pitriloka for some time. But then they have to be reborn, okay, because this is the path of rebirth. While the sages who follow this Uttarayana, this is the path of Urdhvaretas. And this word is used, Urdhvaretas. Okay, they exit from the cycle of rebirth in Uttarayana. So you see, I showed you how the Uttarayana is the upward movement, the Urdhvaretas. Okay. Now, there are some ancient names of these Uttarayana months that I got from Vishnu Purana, and I've put them in the image. So you see, Tapas, Tapasya, Madhu, Madhava, and Suchi and Shukra. Okay, so you see the bhakti path starts from tapas and tapasya. Guruji always says that. Okay, then you go to Madhu. Madhu is this, I think it is this bhakti rasa. It's talking about this bhakti rasa that is then overwhelming in you. And then Suchi is about purity, so this is the path. And then finally it is Shukra. Shukra is the Urdhvaretas, So you see the path of Bhakti Rasa. Shukra is very much, the path of Bhakti. So I wanted to, speak about this. So these shlokas I have found from Niladri Mahodaya, where Brahmadeva is giving Upadesha about Rath Yatra to King Indradyumna. So Indradyumna is the originally who established Jagannath temple, but from Satya Yuga. So, so basically, he's giving this Upadesha and he's saying that, so Ratha Yatra is in this month of Gemini, it's called a Vamana Masa. which is the tail end of Uttarayana. So Uttarayana is ending. You see the last point of Uttarayana, which is the Urdhvaretas. That is the time of Rath Yatra. Okay, so externally, Surya Dev is changing the external yatra. Surya Dev is changing his course. He's, now moving his Ratha southwards to Yamaloka, to the direction of Yamaloka. But Ratha Yatra is also, this internal journey that is happening at the same time. So this shloka is saying that, at the exact cosmic time of observing the deities in Ratha, turning to the southern direction, one can attain Vishnu Pada. The doors of Vaikuntha are opening up. Okay, and you see this word Buddha Pade, meaning understanding, it's enlightenment. So you see Vaikuntha here. So you see the two journeys, external and internal, right? So there is a more popular shloka from Skanda Purana that says, Rathetu Vamanam Drishtva Punarjanmana Vidyate. And at this time, Sri Jagannath is adorned in Suna Vesha, which is all gold, because he is looking southwards at Bhivishan, with the golden city of Lanka. So this shloka here says, same from Niladri Mahodaya, it says Lakshmiyascha mokshaya. So Lakshmi is giving moksha, and Sarva papam cha mochanaya vajra shakti. Now Lakshmi is the pratyadi devata of Shukra, and Vajra means diamond. It is the ratna of Shukra. So you see, Vajra is not just some stone, it is actually a concentrated tapasya bala. Because sage Dadichi, who is in the Bhrigu lineage, he is son of Atharvan, he is in the Bhrigu lineage, and he was doing a lot of tapasya to harden his bones because he was being repeatedly attacked. So then he offered his bones to create the weapon of Indra, which is Vajra. Okay. So, and while he was doing his tapasya, Shukracharya was his instructor. He was instructing the tapasya for him. Okay. So you see, Vajra Shakti is so strong and it has so much tapobal that it can cut the papa and it can give moksha with the grace of Lakshmi. So that's how, Ratha Yatra connects to Uttarayana, Vaikuntha and all that. So, having explored, how Surya Shukra dynamics is influencing time and travel, we are now going to explore another synergy between Surya and Shukra, which is the continuation of lineages. So we talked about the annual motion of Surya Dev in Bhuvaloka causing the seasons. You see the 6 petals in the Swadhisthana. This is where we experience the seasons. This is the sacrum area, which is the reproductive organs are here. This is where we experience the temperature changes, the seasons. So this Swadhisthana is connected to Bhuvaloka. That is why Surya is one of the overlords of Swadhisthana Chakra. And you see Kama and Rati are the Devatas. Rati is Shukra. So, but this Swadhisthana Chakra, the tattva of it is Jala. That's why Shukra is also an overlord. This is where we experience emotions, attachment, all of that. So 5th house is the progeny. 5th house gives us progeny, and the natural 5th house is lorded by Surya. However, it is the 5th from Venus that gives us the capability to reproduce. In certain charts, it can give even the timing of reproduction. So you see, on the other hand, 7th house is, marriage. 7th lord is Venus. However, the dharma marriage is from the 7th from Shukra. And this is Prajapati here. This images of Prajapati. So you see how they are connected. This concept is of achadana, which achadana means hidden. It's a hidden blessing, that it's not automatic. It has to be discovered. Now, I want to mention this contradiction that is there. You see, all the fruitful signs in the Rashi chart are, have influence of Shukra. So you see here, we have Karka, which is the Digbala of Shukra. We have Tula, which is the Mulatrikona of Shukra. And we have Meena, which is the exaltation of Shukra. So all 3 are fruitful signs. Fruitful signs give children. However, Shukra, when it is in pregnancy signs or in sibling signs or it can actually show loss of pregnancy, loss of sibling, and it can, show in certain positions premature birth. So all this is also there, So basically, Shukracharya had two wives. Okay, one wife was Jayanti, who was the daughter of Indra, and as you see, the name Jayanti means birth. So with Jayanti, Shukracharya was, producing lineages. He did the work of continuing lineages because they gave birth to Devyani, and later Devyani got married to a Kshatriya king, Yayati, and the lineages of Yadu Vamsha, Turavasu Vamsha were born. But Shukracharya had another wife whose name was Shataparva, and very little I could find about, almost nothing I could find about her. But it's mentioned that she was incapable of having children, Now, Jayanti means birth. So let's see what Shataparva means. Parva, the dictionary meaning is Parvat, mountains. And Shata is, 100. So Shukra is very much linked to this, number 100. And it's a very advanced concept. We're not getting there, but Shata Parva could mean Kumbha Rashi, because Shata Vishaj Nakshatra is there, and it's where the mountains are. Because when the Lagna Lord is in Kumbha Rashi, the body is incapable of having children. So you see both these energies from Shukra. So now we're going to understand more about this fifth house connection with Shukra. So you see, fifth house is Agni Trikona. It's ruled by Surya. So where is the love in fifth house? Okay. So internally, there is the karmendriya of rasana. Rasana is the tongue. It's complete Jalatattva. So that is what is giving the rasa in the fifth house. And we need saptarasa to create children. The fifth house of progeny needs the saptarasa. Now take this rasa many octaves up, make it pure, make it unselfish. That is bhakti rasa. Okay. So fifth house is also connected to bhakti. And, Venus in our charts, yes, it rules love. It also rules bhakti. So this is why the fifth from Venus is what Venus loves, what Venus protects. And Bhrigu Rishi was created from Brahma's Hridaya. The Hridaya is where the blood is pumping, we feel our, attachment in the Hridaya. So this is mentioned in Shiva Purana. Now, previously I mentioned that Bhrigu Rishi was born from the Agni, right? Different manvantaras, different times. So if you see this petal, this 5-petal mandala, this is actually an astronomical phenomena. So you see Earth, Venus, and Sun, Earth and Venus, they're moving around the Sun at different speeds. So in 1.6 years, Venus, Earth, and Sun align again. And this is called a synodic cycle, where, there are exactly, in 8 years, there are these 5 petals formed. So in 8 years, Earth completes 8 revolutions around the Sun. Venus completes 8 plus 5, 13 revolutions. So this precise orbital ratio somehow creates this beautiful pentagram. So you see how this number 5 is connected to Venus even in astronomy. And for the inner planets, we have this, the inner planets are the planets between Sun and Earth, Mercury and Venus. We also, in more in mundane astrology, we look at the rising and setting. Venus rising as a morning star, meaning it's visible right before sunrise. Evening star, when it is visible right after sunrise. Okay. This is used mostly, as I said, in mundane astrology. You can find a lot of dictums about it in Varamira's Brihad Samhita. But I want to talk about this love and war thing. Okay. So this when Venus rises as a morning star, it's supposed to be a very dangerous time of war. This is what the Mayans believed. And I also found similar things in Brihad Samhita, So Venus has this war energy also, because it is the Karaka of the 7th house of war. 7th house is war. Okay, so Surya Siddhanta mentions that Venus cannot be defeated in a Graha Yuddha. You see, so because he is the Karaka, he is Venus is deciding the war here in the 7th house. And also, who can defeat anyone who has Mrita Sanjeevani Vidya, right? So the story of how Shukracharya became a Graha. So after Shiva gave Shukracharya the Mrita Sanjeevani Vidya, every war that happened between the Devas and the Asuras, the Devas would defeat the Asuras, but Shukracharya would go to the battlefield and revive all the dead Asuras. So at one point, Shiva got very angry and he swallowed him. So in Shiva's belly, Shukracharya did tapasya for 100 years. Okay. And out of this immense tejas and ojas that was created from the tapasya, he came out from Shiva's body as his retas. That is when, Shiva and Brahmadev, they were all happy and made him a graha and called him Shukra. So you see, in Linga Purana, it is mentioned that Shukra is the son of Bhava Shiva, because Bhava Shiva gave him the Sanjeevani Vidya, and it is from Bhava Shiva's body that he came out as Retas. And so here, yeah, so this is the so because we're talking about Surya and Shukra, so the Devata form, when Surya and Shukra are together, it is Indra. Okay. This is a mantra from Guruji's book, Lam Indraya Vajrapanaye Swaha. And but in the parampara, we've always preferred to do Krishna mantras. Okay. So we can look at a form of Krishna which is tied to Indra. Okay, so here it is Vrajendra. Okay, Kleem Vrajendraya Swaha. Or you can say Upendra, Raghavendra, Madhavendra, Mahendra, sorry. So this is an example of a complete destruction of lineage. Okay, so this is King Virendra Veer Vikram Shah of Nepal. So his son, Crown Prince Deependra, fatally shot the entire family and himself because a woman he loved was not accepted by the family. And as a result, the royal lineage was destroyed. And soon after, it led to the abolition of monarchy in Nepal. Okay. So this is the reason is Shukra. It's a case of forbidden love, So there is an anger of Shukra. So that's what we're going to see in this chart. So you see, initially, Shukra is giving him a lot of wealth. He's a king, he's a monarch, okay? Because Shukra is Shubhapati. As Shubhapati, Shukra is the best resource provider. And it has an exchange with Jupiter. It has an exchange with Jupiter, and it's connecting to the Aruda. Aruda is a sign, it's a place of, Rajas, lot of active energy. And Shukra in Aruda, linking to the Aruda, is just intensifying the Rajas, which means, a lot of activity around him. He's surrounded by people. He's born with a silver spoon. And you see the coronation is happening, Jupiter-Venus. Okay. And we said that when Sun is with Shukra, it is a Indra energy, right? So he's definitely experiencing that Indra energy. And there is a dictum from Garga Muni that says Shukra in the 11th house, huge wealth, huge, lot of gemstones, a lot of servants. You see, but this Shukra is in a curse. There is actually 4 malefics, and it's a real curse. If you apply the formulas for curse, it's a real curse. There are 4 malefics. So when the time came to experience the curse, the lineage was annihilated. So you see, there are 2 Pitri doshas. One is Rahu and Saturn, and then the other is a Sun and Saturn. Okay. And you see, a progeny is a blessing of the Pitris. So Pitri dosha is not conducive to continuation of lineage. Okay. And another important thing is that thrones are always protected by a divine mother. Okay. And Nepalese royalty, they had to get blessings from this living goddess Kumari, who was a form of Bhavani, actually, what I read, to legitimize their reign. Like without her, acceptance, there is no reign. So you see, this is showing that the wrath of a goddess here, that this might happen. So this incident happened right when Mercury Dasha started, you see, because Mercury is the dispositor of this curse. Okay, and by certain calculations, which we don't have time for, Mercury is the Mahavidya of this chart. Mercury is the Kula Devi, So you see that the goddess was very angry. So I was looking into why is the goddess angry, and what I found is that King Birendra, his father Mahendra, had an out of wedlock son, who was born 6 years before Birendra from another woman. So that woman also was not from some non-aristocratic class and was not accepted by the royal family. So then King Mahendra, his father, basically, considered this child illegitimate, denied him the position of the crown prince, and he went and married some other woman. And then Birendra was born 6 years later with this curse of Venus in his horoscope. And more so because Mahendra, this other son, the older son, he was born with the blessing of Venus because he, later became a celebrated poet, a writer, in a singer actually, or a composer in Nepal. You see, there is a blessing of Venus. So Venus was very angry when, his rightful position was not given to him. So then after many years of this happening, King Birendra has a son who then gets himself in an exactly same situation of forbidden love. And then the lineage is ending. So the Adi Devata of Shukra is Sachi Devi, who is the spouse of Indra, and the Pratyadi Devata is Lakshmi. Okay, so so before we said that, when Surya and Shukra are together, it is form is Indra. There is a link between Indra and Lakshmi because you see the Pancharatra Agama, Lakshmi Tantra, is the discourse of goddess Lakshmi to Indra. And you'll see there are stotras of Lakshmi written by Indra. Because Indra has to continuously worship Lakshmi in order to protect his powers. Indra's powers is that he is sitting in the east. He's the Dikpala of the east, which is the first house. And he is, having power over our Indriyas. And he has to continuously worship Lakshmi in order to keep that powers. Because, as it is explained in Shatapatha Brahmana, that, the 7 vital pranas, which is the same as Indriyas, like the 2 ears, the 2 eyes, like that, the essence with which the vital pranas are made is Shri. It is Shri. The vital pranas take refuge in Shri, take ashraya in Shri. So Guruji uses this mantra, tam shreyam ashrayatam. That is the meaning of it. So the other form I have here is of Adi Lakshmi. Adi Lakshmi is the same as Mahalakshmi. Adi means primordial, which is a guna form. And Maha also, the three forms of Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati, Mahagauri, they are guna forms. So this description I found from Devi Mahatmya, from the Rahasya Trayam chapters, also in Lakshmi Tantra. This form is given, okay, of Adi Lakshmi, who is gold. And Guruji had mentioned once that Adi Lakshmi is more of a Jupiterian, Mahalakshmi is more of a Jupiterian form. So you see the gold here, and she has a citrus fruit in her hand. She has a gada and a dhal and a panapatra. And she has the naga and, the linga and the yoni on her head. So you go to Pratyadi Devata Lakshmi to get the real parihara. Like if the planet is very afflicted, you have to go to the Pratyadi Devata. Okay, now we come to Shukra and Chandra. So we talked about 7th house before, when we were talking about Surya and Shukra, because that's the 1-7 axis of Udaya and Asta. Okay, so now we want to understand the Swashetra of Shukra, which is the 2nd house. And for that, one second. Yeah, so for that, we want to understand the dynamics between Surya and Shukra. So here I have given some shlokas, you can read it later. So this is basically saying that Lakshmi was born immediately after Chandra from Samudra Manthana. Okay, so there's a word used here, Shrir Anantara. It means immediately after. So Lakshmi was born when the ocean had kritat, like a clarified butter. The ocean became clarified butter, and then Lakshmi was born from there right after Chandra was born. Okay, so you see, ghee, that's why, is very good for Shukra, to remedy Shukra. And also we light ghee lamp because we want prosperity. So in Lakshmi Ashtotara Shatanamavali, it is mentioned that Chandra, Lakshmi is Chandra Sahodari, meaning the sister of Chandra. So you see, Lakshmi is the daughter of Varuna Deva. The Puranas say this. So it kind of makes Shukra and Chandra both have this brother and sister energy. So this is the insider family, this brother sister energy. This is the 2nd house ruled both by Shukra and Chandra. Is this giving out this insider family energy? Same with the 4th house. The 4th house, both of them are Digbala in the 4th house. Okay, so that's why this is our inner family. And both Chandra and Shukra are Jala Tattva. And together they are ruling the second house, as mentioned in Shatapatha Brahmana, that the Vak of Prajapati created Apas. You see, Vak is in the second house. The second house has to do with the speech, the mouth. So both this second house and fourth house give us, there are many dictums, there are many techniques, we can see from Lagna, from Aruda. We can, find Gotra, we can find Vamsha, because Chandra is blood, and Chandra Shukra together is the white blood cells. So they show the bloodline also. Now, one difference I want to call out between the Shukra of the second house and the Shukra of the seventh house, right? So the one I said that this is the inner circle. Second house is the inner circle, and the seventh house is the external circle, where we have our business partners. So the other thing is that you see the second house. What happened to my? The second house is Gauri. Gauri is here, moon is here. So it is white. The color of the second house is white. However, the color of the seventh house is pitch black, because one, it is sunset. And also, in the seventh house, we have both Bhuloka and Atala at the same time. We have Bhuloka and Atala. So there is a Atala energy. We talked about the Naga, Sarpalokas and Tula, right? So there is no sunlight there. And so because of the Jala Tattva, both Chandra and Shukra are healers. Now, there are many, many shlokas in Rig Veda which associate, the healing energy to water. I have one over here that you can read. In Shiva Purana also it is mentioned that Chandra is Amrita, and Shukra is Sanjivanam. So you see, Satabhishaj is Varuna Deva's mansion. We linked Varuna Deva to water and Shukra, right? So that is the 100 physicians, Satabhishaj, from the word Bheshaj. Okay, so you see as I said, Friday was created for the purpose of Pushti. So, but why is then both the second house and the seventh house Maraka? If Shukra is supposed to give Sanjivanam. So here you see both these houses are 12th from the Ayush houses. The Ayush house is the 8th house, and it is the 8th from the 8th, which is the 3rd house. So this is the 12th from the Ayush houses. So there is a danger of losing Ayush here. So there is a condition. You see, the second house is all about food. It is all about, moon likes to cook, moon likes to feed. Venus likes to eat. Venus is all about bhoga, And so the condition here is overconsumption. Okay, overconsumption is the tipping point that can change the Hari Bhava into a Rudra Bhava, because this is also the Rudra axis. And 7th house, similarly, there's a lot of heat in here, and too much lust, too much ojas, too much lust can cause the loss of ojas. So Shukracharya's son-in-law, Devyani's husband, King Yayati, he was a very lustful man, and he was having relationships outside of Devyani. So Devyani, complained to Shukracharya, and Shukracharya had cursed him to become old. So you see, when you're going, if someone's going on the path of promiscuity, the danger is this curse of Shukracharya. They will lose ojas, they will become old. And this mantra I got from Annapurna Upanishad, which is part of Atharva Veda. And, Annapurna Yoga, when Moon, Venus are together, or, they're in certain houses from each other, it is Annapurna Yoga. And this is a yoga of huge blessings of wealth, food, prosperity. But Annapurna Upanishad, is all about her secret mystical knowledge that can give, Jivan Mukti. Because you see, she is in Kashi. Kashi is the Vimukta Kshetra. So this mantra is Om Namo Bhagavatya Annapurne Mama Abhilashitam Annam Dehi Swaha. Okay, so I have removed all the bejas from here because there were Mahavidya bejas, etc., which you need a guru to give you. So this example is of a case of a lottery. So this couple won a mega million jackpot, $266 million, and before they even bought themselves any nice gifts, they started this a charity organization, the foundation. And mainly they fund Hispanic students, education and scholarship programs for Hispanic students. So you see, they won the lottery in this dasha, Narayan dasha of Virgo and Capricorn. And the bhoga of this dasha, now there's a way to calculate that, which is again out of scope of this, but the bhoga of this dasha is coming to this Vrisha Rashi. Okay. So Vrisha Rashi is going to show the fruits of this dasha. And here we have the Bhagyapada, A9. Okay. And the Lord of A9, Shukra, is very, very, very strong and having drishti on A9. You see. And not only that, if you see in the Vamsha, Shukra is very strong. You can do Amshatulya Rashi, bring Shukra back here. In Kashinath Hora, which is a Varga for wealth, you see Venus is in the same sign, and you can bring it back, and see it is basically giving the phala of giving them huge wealth in this time. Now, Jupiter-Venus yoga over here is also a yoga between 4, 11, 9th, which is like a Parijata yoga. It's really like a lot of Dhana yogas in this house. You see in the second from Aruda, it's a Srimanta yoga, 2 benefics, very strong. So all this is there, but we're seeing the Moon and Venus, right? When Moon and Venus are in 311 from each other, it's again a huge blessing. It's a blessing of wealth, travel, vahana, all of this. However, it is also a blessing of leadership, being a pioneer. So you see that they did get this huge gift, huge blessing, but there is a purpose to this yoga, and that's what we can find. One, you can see Shani is also part of this yoga, and Shani is in the 10th house. Shani in the 10th house meaning, it gives a lot of ups and downs, but it also means that there is an impossible task that is on your plate that you need to do, a huge task. And also there are so many techniques you can use in these yogas to see what is the yoga for. And one of them is if we count from Venus to Moon, it's 11. Then we count another 11, we get the 12th house, which is the house of charity. So this is what, Krishna is giving them this higher purpose with this yoga. And both of them, are known to lead very simple lifestyles. They're just doing this work. So now we come to the Tapasvi Yoga. So here we are talking about Dhuma Vrata. Now this is to understand Shukracharya's penance, because Shukra is tapasya. Okay. So this is Dhuma Vrata is Shukracharya basically did this Dhuma Vrata for 1,000 years. Okay, 1,000 years he was upside down, you can see. And he was being administered, smoke particles. You see Kana Dhumam by a yaksha called Kundadhara. Okay, so you see Kundadhara, the word Kundadhara obviously is connecting to Kundalini. Okay, so Kundadhara is administering smoke particles. Smoke is Ketu. So we need Kundalini awakening to be done by Ketu. We need Ketu to do that. And he's upside down. This is a Urdhvaretas tapasya. We talked so much about Urdhvaretas. Okay. So you see, yakshas are typically, they grant material benefits, like Kubera is a yaksha. So I found in the puranas that it's mentioned that Kundadhara is one very different yaksha. If you pray to him for money, he will give you poverty and direct you to the spiritual direction. So ultimately, after 1,000 years of this tapasya, Lord Shiva, in the form of Bhava, was satisfied. Bhava Shiva is the Shiva that has the Sanjeevani Vidya. Okay, so here is a shloka from Linga Purana. Sanjeevanasya lokanam bhavasya paramatmana. So Bhava Shiva blessed him because he had Sanjeevani Vidya and Bhava Shiva gave him that. Okay, so so you see here Kavya. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Kavya also means spirits and mains. That's also another connection of Shukra to the Pitras. And Kavya means poetry, Kavya means wise, like a sage. And Bhargava is descendant of Bhrigu. So yeah, you can read the shlokas later. I have to go fast now. So this is a way to understand the Tapasvi Yoga. Okay, so to understand any dictum, we always go back to the Naisargic zodiacs. Okay, now here Tapasvi Yoga it's a true mind control. So that's why we're going to look at the Naisargic, some Naisargic, things in the Navamsha. So there is a thing called internal Navamsha exaltation. This is a special exaltation. Okay, this is it's calculated from like the degree of exaltation of a planet. So for example, if Shani is 20 degrees, Shani's exaltation is 20 degrees in the Tula Rashi. So 20 degrees is 6 Navamsha. So you count 6 from here, and then you know that internal exaltation of Shani is in the Navamsha of Meena. Okay. So like that, Shukra and Shani both have internal exaltations in this house of Ketu in Meena Navamsha. And there are dictums, that connects Meena Navamsha to very, very high spirituality and moksha. So you see the connection of the Tapasvi Yoga to this internal exaltation. Internal exaltation is something that others can see. You are feeling a very tattva level high mentally. So another way to understand it by the Naisargic lords of the Navatara chakra. Navatara is again a mind concept because it's part of Vimshotri Dasha. Vimshotri is how the mind is experiencing and perceiving things. So here you see in the natural zodiac, natural Navatara lord of Sadhaka Tara is Shani. Sadhaka means sadhana. And Ketu is the Mitra Tara and Venus is the Paramatara. And in spiritual path, Ketu is the spiritual path. Mitra Tara is the spiritual path. And Paramatara is the destination. Okay, so you see how all these three are connecting to give us the Tapasvi Yoga. And when we talk about Tapasvi Yoga, Shani really is giving the sadhana, the endurance, the labor you put in, the pain tolerance also. And Ketu is the absolute headlessness. You have to repeat, you have to keep repeating to make perfect. So that is the path. And Venus is the real burning power. Okay, so you see the name Bhrigu, Bhrigu is the root word means burning. And even Ushana, Ushana, Shukracharya's name before he became Shukra was Ushana. That is also burning. So Venus really has the burning power. But if you see, without Ketu, there is no Tapasvi Yoga. It can become uncontrolled passion if it is just Shani and Shukra. Actually, if you see the chart of Epstein, he has a Shukra-Shani exchange. And to make matters worse, Mangal is also there. There is also a dictum in Narad Puran, that says that Shani and Venus Amsha, Venus and Shani Amsha, it can mean some overly passionate lesbian. So you see, you have to be very careful with the Tapasvi Yoga. You absolutely need Ketu. Okay. And also without Shukra, there is no Tapasvi Yoga because Shani and Ketu both are kind of chaura, they're thievish. So it can make someone a fake sadhu. And there is another version of Tapasvi Yoga which has more of a Tula Rashi energy. Tula Rashi energy is where the exaltation of Shani and the Shukra is Mula Trikona, right? So also there is not much Ketu here. But, this is, you can see a lot of Tapasvi Yogas in the charts of the entertainers, the music industry. Because, anyone who's an artist, they have to spend hours and hours doing tapasya to learn an art. So this example is of Sri Chandrasekhar Saraswati, who was the 68th Shankaracharya of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham. And you see, he used to walk, like 16 to 32 kilometers per day. And even at age 84, he was continually working at least like 15 kilometers per day. That is a complete mind control. So you see, for him, Venus is exalted in the 8th house. This Tapasvi Yoga with Venus in the 8th house shows a renunciation. And so at the tender age of 13, he was made Pithadipati. Okay, and in the Naisargic Dasha of Venus, you see 13 is when the Naisargic Dasha is, based on the natural progressions of life. So that's when Venus starts, and at this time he was made the Pithadipati. So there is an exchange between Venus and Jupiter also. And you see Jupiter is the Bhatri Karaka. Venus is the Amatya Karaka. So his brother, who was actually supposed to be the Pithadipati, he died. And so he was given this very huge, position at that time. At that young age, he had to leave his family, he had to leave his mother, he had to start doing tapasya and studying of shastras and live a very regimented life. So there is a curse also here. It is three malefics. But you see that the curse it seems like it's going to his brother, because the brother is dying here. So the main thing here is the Nari Navamsha. Nari Navamsha shows the inner nature, right? And in Nari Navamsha also he has a Tapasvi Yoga. You see this Venus, Ketu and Shani in trine. And there's an exchange between Shani and Venus. I have noticed that in trines, Tapasvi Yoga is very, very strong and more spiritual because it has to do with knowledge. You see, even in the chart of Swamiji, we have a trinal Tapasvi Yoga, and he was a great Tapasvi. And this chart is of a record-breaking free diver. Okay, free divers, they are underwater swimmers who don't have any equipment for breathing. You know, they are completely relying on lung capacity. So they just breathe, they go down, and then they come back and take a breath again. So it's complete mind control. So you see the Venus here in exact exaltation degree, and Ketu in Mula Trikona. So this, is happening in this water sign, right? So, and I told you about Pushan and Venus exaltation, right? He knows his path under the water. So the last is Shukra and Brihaspati, which is Agni Yoga. And you see, when Shukra is with Guru, the form we say is a form of Devata is Agni Dev. Okay. And also Shukra Digbala is the Devata, the blessing of the Devata is from Agni Dev, who is the Dikpala. And let's understand this whole concept of Dikpala. So Dikpala Devatas are appointed by Brahmadeva to maintain Rita, the cosmic order. And you will see that the Kona Dikpalas, the Kona Dikpalas, they have this, they're doing this balance, they're balancing the energies of the Kendra Dikpalas. So like, Indra has all the life, right? It is the Indriyas, it is the life, it's the pranas. And Yama is death. So Agni Dev is here working through Shukra to balance this, because you need Shukra for healing, because here the two extremities balancing, we need Shukra. But most importantly, you see, when sun is rising in the east, it is sun's apparent motion is like this, going to the 10th house. 10th house is the midday, which is the highest and heat, highest light is the midday. So this is really a very, very strong, intense heat and light. So this is where we need Shukra to filter. Like I was telling you about Arunadev, who is filtering the intensity of, of Suryadev. So it is mentioned in Vishnu Puran that during the day, sun is blended with Agni. That's why you see the radiance, the prakash, and also the intense heat, which is the Ushna. And what is happening during the night is that this radiance, this prakash, is entering the fire. So in the night, the fire becomes, it's very shiny. And during the night, the heat and light of the sun is entering the water. So you see how sunset house, the 7th house, it has a lot of heat because all the heat from the Agni during the daytime is going inside the water in the 7th house. That's why we have Ushni Chanda, which is a Chanda of Venus in the 7th house. And as I said, like Shukra was he was called Ushanas Rishi before he became Shukra. So in this shloka from Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna is saying that among the Kavi or the wise, I am Ushana. Okay, so Ushna means desire, zeal, kama. And even Shukra, Shukra was created from Shiva's body when he was doing tapasya, right? It's the tejas, the burning. And I mentioned about Bhrigu, how his name is also related to burning. And in Ayurveda, we say that Venus has pitta and kapha, so jala and heat. Okay, so that's why Venus, when it is Digbala, Agni Dev is becoming you're getting the blessing from Agni Dev. And so Venus Digbala is a blessing of beauty because Agni is Rupa, Agni is prosperity. So, if your Lagna Lord is Digbala, you can be very beautiful. And also, you see there is if your Lagna Lord is Venus Digbala, okay, and also Agni Dev, there are so many riks about Agni Dev giving blessings with treasures like Ratna Dhatamam and wealth and prosperity. And so you see here, Chandra is Vata, Vayu and Kapha. So when Chandra is Digbala, the Vayu Dev is giving you strength. So Agni Yoga is also gives Jyotish, because Agni Yoga is like Jupiter, Venus together. It gives Jyotish because Jyotish is Veda Chakshu and Agni gives sight. And the Agni Kona is where Meena Rashi is. Meena Rashi is the 12th house. Jyotishis are in the 12th house because, Jyotishis are like hospitals. Hospitals in the 12th house. We're doing all the healing. All the healing is happening here. Also, Jyotish is connected with Atharva Veda. And Jyotish is in many Vedas and Puranas, but Atharva Veda has upayas, remedies. So Jyotish is a very strong connection with Atharva Veda. And the ancient name of Atharva Veda is Angira Atharvan. Angira is from the lineage of Jupiter and Atharvan is from the lineage of Bhrigu. So their coming together, gives knowledge of Atharva Veda. Also, Guru Shukra together, it is a Naisargik Yuddha because, Shukracharya is the Acharya of the Asuras and Brihaspati is the Acharya of the Devas. So there are so many, Yuddha between the Asuras and the Devas mentioned in the Puranas. On the internet, I found that there are 12 more prominent wars between the Devas and Asuras. I haven't, verified that. But it can mean the 12 conjunctions of Jupiter and Venus, the 12 signs. And here is a mantra, Hrim Agni Brahmane Namah. So this is Elon Musk, needs no introduction. So I want to point out a few things. His Lagna is very strong. You see double sun because Mercury is an own sign, which is also like a Surya. And then there is sun. He's a very intelligent person. But you see the Jagannath Navamsha has in the same sign Jupiter-Venus yoga. You see the brain of this person. Because Jupiter and Venus is the right brain and the left brain. They're working together. And in the Siddhamsha, which is the chart of, education, learning, the Siddhis, he has this exchange between Jupiter and Venus. If you see here, Venus is exalted in the 4th house, Digbala, complete blessing of Agni. Okay. And Jupiter is in the 11th house, which is the house of the highest Vijnana. Vijnana is the mundane knowledge. So basically, he is able to, he has a lot of, he's a designer, he designs, but he is able to give rupa to his designs because he has that much engineering knowledge as well. And there are so many universities that has given him honorary doctorates, in aerospace engineering and design. But also you see this Mercury, the Mercury and this Venus, Jupiter and Mercury sign is also very relevant here because Mercury is the sculptor. Venus is more fine arts. Mercury is making, something from just clay. And in the Dashamsha, you see Venus is debilitated. So Amatya Karaka debilitated. Now, this is actually a very good yoga because if this Venus was exalted, he would be like a king. He would not do anything, But Venus being debilitated, it is like Shani. So he's a focused, he's a workaholic, okay? And you see the lord of this Venus, lord of Amatya Karaka is in this Nidhi Rashi. Sagittarius is a Nidhi Rashi, Navanidhis, of Kubera. So he is with Mercury and Moon. So and Moon is a Lagna Lord. He is getting all the wealth for it, huge, like a trillionaire, billionaire, multi-billionaire, right? So of course, there are so many other wealth yogas in this chart. But everything has to manifest from the Rashi chart. So you see Rashi chart also Venus Jupiter has this yoga. They're in the Samasaptaka, they're in the Paraspara Drishti yoga. And Jupiter is the 7th Lord Dharakaraka, which is itself is a Raja yoga of business, of money. And then it is the 10th Lord having a yoga with Amatya Karaka. That is also Amatya Raja yoga. So he is obviously, in private sector, Venus rules private sector. He is, one of the top execs. Okay, so I on this ending note, I want to end here. I want to mention that, one of the best mantras of Shukra is Mrityunjaya. And Mrityunjaya Bija that Guruji has taught us like very beginning when we started, Om Jum Sa, is a beautiful mantra. And this session that I did was an offering to the feet of my Jyotish Guru, Pandit Sanjay Rath. And Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.